Sveiki, labas. Mano vardas Arturas. Aš Brazilas, aš gyvenu Belgijoje. Man čia patinka gamta ir naktinis gyvenimas. Aš nekalbu lietuviškai, that's all. That's all I practice in front of the mirror and asking feedback for the others. The reason why I do that is simply because I love to learn languages, and that's a way that I make myself so nervous that whatever comes next, I'm gonna be okay. Why do I even create a talk called the 10 Vicious Circles? In the last 10 years, I felt blessed that I could work in different industries, seeing different products and services. Yes, I started as an Agile coach in IT because that is pretty much where we start with Agile. That's the only way to work with Agile is IT, right? Well, in the last 5 years, I also felt blessed to work everywhere else but not IT. Procurement, portfolio, HR, marketing, business side, etc. Payroll. Payroll can be Agile? And I saw across all these industries and all these departments, vicious circles happening again and again. And I'm like, I have to create a talk about that. I got to go out there and share with the world. So here I am. But by the way, what is a vicious circle? Let's be on the same page first. A vicious circle is a sequence of reciprocal cause and effect in which two or more elements aggravate and really make sure it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Some people would call it downward spiral, negative feedback loop, or feedback loop from hell. I prefer vicious circle. It's just But are we on the same page regarding vicious circle? Yeah? Hey, okay, I got claps for that. Okay, that's going to be nice talk. I'm going to illustrate with just the first one for you to have an idea. It's just a warm-up, okay? It's just to, okay, let's see what is a vicious circle. First one, abbreviations and acronyms. This is going to appear in emails, documents, and meetings. You don't want to ask what they mean because you know you don't want to interrupt the meeting or you don't want to look silly. But more abbreviations and acronyms will keep on appearing. But now, my friend, you are there for 2 years, 3 years, you're going to look very silly if you ask now. But more abbreviations will keep on appearing. Raise your hand if you've ever experienced that. All right, big majority. I have a theory that every big company in the world has at least one acronym or abbreviation that nobody knows what the heck is that. People created that years ago, they just repeat now as parrots and yes. And one thing I do, every time I start in a new team, I ask them, what is the meaning of your name? And there was this team called XPT Data. And I got 3 different answers of the meaning of their name. I'm like, okay, let's align here. Anyway, this is very cute slide. It's green and blue and white. Oh, you look at that, it's like, oh, vicious circle, blah, 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 blah. I want you to feel the pain of the vicious circle. Don't blink. Take a look. 3, 2, 1. That's a vicious circle. Dark mode. Were you distracted? I'm going to do it again the last time in this talk. 3, 2, 1. Now it's a vicious circle. It's red and gray and dark because I want you to feel this pain. I'm sarcastic, yes. Sadistic, a little bit. But I'm a nice guy. So the next thing we're going to do is have a nice view, landscape, to clean that bad energy. I give a big speech here. A big, nice landscape to clean that bad energy. And some things that you can consider to break that vicious circle. That worked for me and hopefully will work for you. The first thing you can consider, just ask it yourself. What does it mean? Even if you know it. Second point, maybe if people are not feeling comfortable to ask what is the meaning of an abbreviation, maybe psychological safety is not really strong in your team. What does it mean, psychological safety? We have many other talks talking about it. That means you can speak up without the fear of feeling judged. I did a mistake. I'm sorry. Can you help me with this? You're better than me than that. What does it mean? I didn't understand it. If you don't hear those sentences very often in your team, you are either in a great team that don't need to say those things, or people are afraid of saying them. So maybe psychological safety is something that you can work on and introduce. Another thing, just don't use it yourself. Be clear, not clever. Artur, I'm addicted. I'm sorry. I really need to use acronyms and abbreviations. Start the email, the document, or the meeting, open parentheses, explain what is that acronym or abbreviation, and then you can go on using that acronym abbreviation to the end of times. But at least you give people the chance to understand them. And another thing that I do as well is create a glossary. I do that every time, every team that I start. I keep gathering all those acronyms and abbreviations, and I put them all together, I put it visible, and I always have people that are working there for years, and they're like, oh, so that's what it means. So you're also helping others. Did you get an idea how this talk is going to go? Vicious circles, and then a nice, maybe, landscape with things that you can use potentially to break that. Ready to go? Let's go, baby. All right. Number 2, Scrum Master superhero. The Scrum Master solves an impediment by him or herself. The team is not involved, so they don't learn how to do it. A similar impediment or the same will happen again. Who will they look at to solve that impediment? Dear Scrum Master, can you do the magic again? And again, and again. I know it comes from a good place. I've been there myself multiple times. We want people to focus. We want people to continue working. We don't want to interrupt them. But there is 1% of ego. Because it's so good when you fix the impediment and you come back to the room and it's like, hey, everybody, you can start testing again. QA is on. And everybody's like, yeah! Successful rocket launch. And you're like, yeah, yeah. It's like with an invisible cape flying around. You are just creating bottlenecks. I know it comes from a good place, but we should do the opposite of creating bottlenecks. And there is a variation that is the team member, the person, you know that person that's like, oh, to work on that feature, that's Karolis. That's only Karolis. That's the only guy that can touch that. Oh, it's about the finance part, that's Jane. Jane is the only one who knows that. Have you seen this? And there is the other one that is the boss. I'm going to do it because it's faster if I do it. But if you do it because they're not involved, then you are the only one who can do that. And again, another vicious circle. So 3 variations, that's a 3-in-1 for you. Raise your hand if you've ever seen this happening in any shape or form. Superhero? Yeah, more than 60%. Let's consider some things here. I'm going to repeat this again and again. Find the root causes. Trying to understand the reason why this is happening. You don't try to fix the flower or the leaves. You go on the root. Maybe the root is not having enough nutrients or water, or there's not enough sun, but you don't try to put a Band-Aid on the leaf or the flower. You try to fix the root. That's where it comes from. Therefore, it's important that you find what is causing that. Maybe the Scrum Master believes that's just the most efficient way. Yeah, might be. But some of the things you can use, for instance, the 5 whys. That's one of the techniques. You can use the Ishikawa or fishbone or the A3 problem solving, but find the root cause. Try to understand what is causing that, and that's where you act. Another thing you can consider, create a skills matrix. It's high enough for me to point out, and I'm going to give the guy some work. Each line here, each role, it's one hard skill. Each column, each 2 columns, it's one person. And in one column is today. You do a self-assessment of where you are today from 1 to 5. 1 being, I have no clue what is that skill, and 5, I can even teach others. And then there is a second column that is the future. Where do you want to be in the future? As a developer, as an analyst, doesn't matter. But you start doing the self-assessment from 1 to 5. And then at the end, you have the average across everybody. And you have some pretty bad outliers here, like 1.5, 1.7. That means you got a champion in your team. That means bottleneck. Be careful. So skills matrix can work a lot. And the action plan, I ask the team, where do you want to improve? What is the point that you want to grow? And how do you want to do that? It's not me pushing them. Now, you're going to do pair programming. Pair programming, okay? Pair programming is the best for you. It's pair programming. I'm going to push pair programming. They're like, I'm going to do it just to please the Scrum Master because this guy is annoying. I don't even know the meaning of that. But they should be the ones owning those actions. Another thing, create a wiki. Whenever you have an impediment happening, create 1-pager. Very simple and easy that you can visualize how that problem was solved. Don't create a document of 5, 10 pages. Nobody's going to read that. And the other thing, just try not to be the superhero yourself. That might be a great start. Ready for the number 3? Yay! All right, let's go. The number 3, task board and meetings. The task board is not updated. It's just, a bit old, but it's already old, so nobody's going to update that anyway, because it's already old. It's just John maybe updating that. And then you don't use the task board for the meetings. And now the task board doesn't have the last updates or the last events of the meetings. And the meetings are even less valuable because you didn't have anything to talk against. It was just a meeting and maybe somebody taking a physical note, and then it keeps on going. And I promise you there are some red arrows here, okay? Imagine some dark arrows there, but they are there. It's just a bit invisible right now. But the more you don't update the board, the more you're not going to use in meetings, the more you're not going to use in meetings, less values they're going to have, and less you're going to be updating your board. There is a saying, you cannot have clean water out of a dirty pipe. Raise your hand if you're seeing this happening. I'm just going to ask you 7 more times. Then you can maybe shift, use the other arms a little bit. Yeah, this one a little less, but some people, yeah. Things you can consider to break that vicious circle. One of the first things you can consider that I already mentioned in the last one is root cause. Don't worry. By the end of this session, we are going to be all singing together in the same time. Root cause. It's going to happen. Don't worry. But yes, one of the first things you can consider, find the root cause. Understand, maybe because it's too complex, the board. It's not clear how to use it. There is no value for them. Try to understand why the board is not being used. The other thing, just keep it simple. Don't go crazy on so many columns and so many states that just one person understands how it happens. Keep it simple. The other thing, agree on the constraints. How are you going to use it? When are you going to update? Color coding. What type of work you're going to do that? Make sure you agree on the constraints. It's there. First, experiment. We talked a lot about experiment with Anthony and Chris and many other speakers. Just try with your board. See what works well. And it's their board, not yours. I did a visual management training, and I was so excited. I'm like, oh, I'm going to create a beautiful board for them. It was before the pandemic. So I stayed until 11 in the night, creating a physical board, beautiful for them. And the next day, during the daily stand-up, they all came around, and I'm like so proud. And they were like, The columns are not really what we needed. Yeah. The colors as well. Good effort, Artur, good effort. Good effort. It's their board, not yours. So co-create with them. Bring somebody from the team, try to create it together. Don't try to create it all by yourself. Ready to go? They are going to become, they're going to become naughtier and nastier as we go. Now it's just a warm-up. Can you feel it? It's just stretching. Wait till the end. All right, the number 4, high team turnover. Let's hire 2 more analysts because, we can go faster. But because you have, I already have some people laughing already. But because you have new people, you have to onboard them. And people that were productive, now they're not productive anymore because they're onboarding. And because you are losing that productivity, somebody's going to say, let's go faster. Let's hire 2 more testers. All of a sudden, you have an inflated team, people coming in and out. I worked with a team that had 21 people in the team. Every week, I was going to say hi or bye to somebody. Raise your hand if you've ever been to this experience somewhere in your point in your career. Yeah, a bit more people. You remember, you can shift your arm if it's getting tired. One of the first things to consider to break that vicious circle is getting better. Root causes, yeah. Try to understand. For instance, with this experience I had 3 managers in the same team. 1 for testers, 1 for developers, and 1 for analysts. They wouldn't talk to each other. They would hire or fire as they will. My goodness. So try to understand what is happening, what is the root cause for that high team turnover. Another thing, team engagement or NPS, Net Promoter Score. You ask that for the product. From 0 to 10, how likely are you to recommend this product to a colleague or friend? Ask the same for the team. How likely are you to recommend to work in this team from 0 to 10? And then you start gathering some data. Visualize the impact. That is the Tuckman cycle, or just a way to visualize, because here you start forming. We are together, first time we see each other, but then you start storming because I didn't like the way you interacted there, or you were speaking on the mobile, and then you start creating norms together, and soon enough, hopefully, we are performing. But every time you hire or fire somebody new, you come back automatically to the storming or norming or even forming. So show the impact of that and have the conversations around it. Create the skills matrix that I already mentioned. That's something to consider. And forget about 1 month handover. That doesn't exist. Mary was here for 3 years. Now that she's leaving, she's going to have 1 month to do all the handover of everything she knows. And it's not even full-time. It's 1 hour here, 2 hours there. And then you keep losing 50% of the knowledge every time somebody leaves with this 1 month handover. Forget about that. Keep on sharing knowledge as you go. I see some people like, yes, please. Let's go forward. Number 5, technical debt. Ugh. I see already some people like, don't talk about it, Artur. I just had my coffee. Technical debt is created because it's a natural part of development. But if you don't tackle the technical debt, the code will become a spaghetti code, super complex. What is going to happen is going to be very hard to refactor or forecast. How long is it going to take that? No, it's just going to be 1 week, don't worry. 3 months later, like, it's going to be just 1 more month, I promise. It's such a mess. The code is so complex that every time you touch it, it's like a Jenga. You remove them, or like a house of cards. It's like, Now, somebody's going to prioritize, let's move faster, choosing speed over quality. Now you really don't have time for refactoring. And that's, again, another vicious circle. Raise your hand if you ever felt the pain of this experience. Oh, quite a lot. That's normally, yeah. It's painful, I know. You can look around, you can hug each other if you want. You can say, yeah, how was it for you? One of the first things you can consider to break the vicious circle is? Root cause is getting better. Yes, try to understand. Sometimes it's pressure from the management. Sometimes the developers themselves thinking that is the best approach. That's how we keep going, quick and dirty. Let's keep moving. That's how we get the bonuses. Maybe the bonuses, the KPIs are individually by lines of code. And then you know the cartoon, I'm going to write myself a new van. I'm going to write myself my new trip. Then you just keep writing a lot of code, and then you get more bonuses because of that. Try to find the root causes. Visualize the impact. Go on Google, type technical debt, go to images. Thousands of images that can help you to have conversations around how much is costly not to take care of the technical debt. Dedicate some time of your sprint or whatever time frame you use for refactoring. All right, every Friday, 2 hours, we're going to refactor and make our code cleaner, better, faster, stronger, more efficient. Some teams might need more than 2 hours, but you got the idea. Create coding conventions. How are you going to go with that? Camel case. Which patterns and architecture? What are the methods that you're going to use? Try to create the coding conventions. Automate the processes, because one thing that happens a lot is that we do manual tests. And then we build feature A, and we test. We good? We good? High five, everybody. High five. Beautiful. Let's go to feature B. Let's go to feature B. And feature B is good. We good? Let's go to feature C. Did we break feature A? I don't know. Let's test again. And then you test feature A, and then you test feature B. And then we good? Good, everybody? High five, high five, high five. Let's go to feature C. We've built feature C. I'm not sure if feature A and B is working. Let's test again. And then you test feature A, and then you test feature B, and then, have you seen this happening? My first mentor told me when I was doing manual tests, he said, like, if you are doing the job of a machine in the night, when the machines are drinking oil, they're going to be laughing at you. That human is doing my work. I should be doing the test. So many tools out there to cover the test, and you don't need to do it manually. Please use it. Who knows the Scout rule? Scout rule? Leave the place better than how you found it. That can also be applied to code or to whatever product that you're building, whatever place, you can leave it better than how you found it. By the way, you can take your mugs and the paper and bring it there afterwards to help people from the cleaning. That's an example of leaving the place better than how you found it. Anyway, let's move forward. Now we have the number 6, conflict resolution debt. I'm going to make this a known expression at some point, because you have technical... Did you got me jumping? Yes, probably. You have the technical debt, now the conflict resolution debt. How does it go? Something happened in the team. It's a conflict. Maybe you're speaking very loud on your mobile next to me, talking about football. but I don't want to talk to you because I don't know how, or I'm very overwhelmed, and I know I don't have much time. But now that I don't like you much, you come to me and do something, and I also don't want to help you. But because I also don't want to help you, now you don't like me back. And that is probably impacting a third party. Now, we have a lot of conflict, and now it really, Anthony? I don't even know, don't talk about Anthony. I don't, and then you have no more energy to talk about. You survive that person. You go over the days with the person, but you're not really friends. And then more conflicts keeping on happening. Raise your hand if you ever seen that. In a different experience, different work, different life, parallel universe, yeah? All right, maybe your colleague is next to you. Are you gonna raise your arm? Are you? Now, one of the things you can consider to break that up, I get you a beer tonight if you say. Root causes. I'm gonna go broken today if I pay beer for all these people. Find the root causes, that's for sure. Try to understand why this is happening. Is it really because we don't have time? We don't have energy? We don't have the tools to give feedback? What is happening? Try to introduce slowly. You can talk about the radical candor from King Scott. You can talk the responsibility process, nonviolent communication, and one of the ones that I like the most, the impact feedback. You don't say like, you did that because you don't respect me, and for me, you should speak on the mobile on the room A. First, you are giving an assumption why the person is having a bad behavior, and you are giving the solution that might not be the best fitting for that person. Instead, you say, what happened? Anthony, yesterday love you, man. Yesterday at 10:30, you were speaking on your mobile, talking about things that were not work-related. So what happened? Then the behavior was talking on the mobile about things that were not work-related, and the impact it had on me is that I felt completely distracted. I lost my train of thought. And you go from there, and you start from this. That is an impact feedback. Just start small. I started as an Agile coach with a team. I joined their first retro, and I saw a circle of chairs in the middle. People entered the room, they sat on the chairs, the Scrum Master closed the door, put one chair in the center and said, now Jane, you sit in the center, we are now gonna tell you what we like about you and what we don't like about you. Time out, time. So I had to abort mission. This is not a feedback session, this is an execution session. Start small, step by step, techniques, and then you go for these at some point. And just update the working agreements. That might be something you can consider as well. Big no-goes or things that you really don't like, working agreements. Okay, sorry. Number 7, no whip limit. What does round of applause to her. What does WIP means? We just agreed on the first one that you would ask even if you don't know if you know what it means. So round of applause, yes, very good. That means work in progress. That means you have no limit on your work in progress. It's too many things at the same time. How does it go? Work is pushed down onto the team because everything is high priority. Now the team is juggling 50 things at the same time. But now there is a lack of focus, context switching, and waste. And now things start slowing down. And somebody or some people would say, I want my feature in the next release. And they go, they are not moving fast enough. I got my stuff there, and more things will be high priority. I worked with a team that they had 293 items in the same sprint. And they were not the size of this right here. They were 10 people. Imagine that lack of focus. Raise your hand if you're seeing this happening. No limitation on the work in progress. All right. One of the first things to consider. 3, 2, 1. All right, some people are already up front. Root cause, Artur, just shut up, man. It's root cause, we know already. That's for sure, root cause, try to understand why. Secondly, visualize the impact of having too many things in progress at the same time. How do you do that? All right, that's one simple example. You do task A, task B, task C. You finish, we good. That's happy scenario. It's not really what happens most of the time. Sometimes you do a bit of A, a bit of B, a bit of C, a bit of A, a bit of B, a bit of C, a bit of A, and then you see that you finish A double of the time. Not to mention all this in between is just waste and context switching. I don't remember what I had for dinner last Wednesday. Imagining working in a product with other people, and then I'm working with Olina Monday, Tuesday, and then I work with Anthony Wednesday, and then we gotta remember this is lost of context. It's just context switching and waste of time. Try to have this visualization. Beautiful bullet point on a slide. Very hard to get. Align with product owners, the leadership, and the stakeholders that having less things in progress means we are going faster, because it's counterintuitive. For them, it's like many people, the more we do, the more we're going to finish at the same time, but that's not really the case. So the more you focus, maybe not one thing at a time, but maybe 5, maybe 10, but not on 293. And then you have the agreement with them that you're going to focus and you're going to start doing one thing at a time. New motto for you to print big, put in your room, or put in your Miro board, whatever digital place you have. Finish more, start less. Variation for that, stop starting, start finishing. Is the new motto. Number 8. No time for improvement. You got to introduce something new. Maybe it's introducing Scrum, maybe Agile, maybe Lean Startup, maybe it's a training about feedback, and that would take half day, maybe whole day, maybe 2 days. But somebody's going to say, like, can you do in 1 hour? You don't want to lose your job, so yes, of course, 1 hour. But because you didn't take your time to align people, many unnecessary friction will start happening. Because they don't know the roles, they don't know what is that, and then they have a meeting with another meeting that to call somebody else because that was not aligned, and they have meetings over meeting, but now Jake was not present in that meeting, so let's have another meeting. Now they really feel stressed and they have too many meetings. And then any other new improvement, new concept or practice that you want to introduce, they really don't have time for that. Yeah? There's no time. One of the first things to consider, 3, 2, 1. Why? It's beautiful. It's getting there. You're getting there. Try to understand why this is happening, right? Maybe it's indeed because they are busy, they don't have time, or because the past they had another coach, another Scrum Master that was taking 3 days to introduce something that could be simpler. Try to understand why there is this allergy and like too many meetings, or we don't have time. Visualize just simply with and without. How does it look like? I did this drawing. We have Olina here that is the master of drawing. That is probably 1% of what she would do, but I'm quite proud of my drawing. There is no time for improvement, right? Sometimes it's just stopping a little bit, you change the wheels, and you can go much faster in a medium and long term. Some people are more mathematical and, so maybe that one would work better. You have the same, we just do the same, flat line, occasional improvement, yep. More Kaizen, then we keep improving for sure. And if it's improvement with innovation, you have these jumps on the improvement. So try to visualize and start conversations around that. Getting the leadership support, one of the best experiences I had. Transformation, 3,000 people involved. They were forced to have at least 10% of their time focus on continuous improvement. And it was not like improve collaboration. That's too generic, that means nothing. It was concrete actions in order to improve. Try small. So as soon as you try something, you bring the numbers to management, say, hey, remember, we found time for that thing. Now we are moving much faster because we just changed the wheels and the tires. And create cases for that, create appetite for them to support these changes. And please, don't let the risk of going bankrupt being the only reason why you improve or innovate, because that might be too late. That guy here in front is like, oh yes. All right, now the number 9, toxic behaviors. I told you that they are gonna be nastier as we would go. The company doesn't deal with toxic behaviors. Because she delivers. Because he's quite efficient. I know he's a little pain in the neck, but you know, the numbers are there. But because of that, the great people start quitting. They are also nice. They are also delivering numbers. But not only that, they are pleasant to work with. They share knowledge. They are just nice to work with. But they start quitting. Now, the only ones staying are the ones with toxic behaviors, and they go to what? Leadership roles. And they're going to start hiring people that think alike. Now, for sure, the company won't deal with toxic behaviors. And not only good people are leaving, but great ones are not even joining. You don't attract talent because word of mouth. Oh, is it that team? Ah, I heard that's quite painful, that team. Is it that company? Oh, I heard that is pretty painful there. You might be with your boss next to you, so in case, in previous experience and previous lives, you had this happening somehow, raise your hand. Sometimes the boss is next to you, is like, are we really gonna raise your, are we really? Toxic behavior, exactly, psychological safety is like, I cannot even raise my hand. Now, one of the first things that you can consider is wrong. Separate the behavior from the person. Because I genuinely believe that people don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to mess up Artur's life today. I genuinely believe that maybe that's 1%. There might be 1% of humans that are going that way. But for the vast majority, people are being triggered because of whatever is happening around. So try to separate the behavior from the person and tackle the behavior, not the person. You don't fix people, you fix the behaviors. Now you find the root causes. After you separate in your mind and you know that it's about the behavior, not the person, listen to understand why the person is even acting that way. It's not listen to, tell me why you're a jackass. Just go ahead. Tell me why nobody likes you. That might be not the best way to start a conversation. But truly listen to understand what is triggering that. One of the things that I saw a lot, first, maybe personal issues. You can have your best friend at work. You might know only 10% of his personal life. We don't know what is happening in people's life. Another thing that is not clear, why this agile or this transformation? Why this is happening? I'm just pushed to do this thing. It's not clear. The CEO said yes, and everybody's like, yeah, let's do this agile thing, but what is in it for me? What problems are we solving by going on this digital transformation, this lean transformation, or this agile transformation? Why? And another thing I see a lot, HR not involved. So you ask me to be nicer, to be kinder, to share knowledge, to do this, to do that, all this fluffy agile stuff. But the way that I get my bonuses and my promotion is still the old ways. So this, collective, nice, you want me to do that. But the way I get my money is still individually. I'm sorry. Many people are still going to choose this one. People have kids, people got to put the bread on the table, and they're going to say, I like agile pretty much. That's pretty cool. But I also like to put money on the table and provide for my family. So HR should be involved from the beginning of the transformation, not only on the facade or asking people to change their behaviors. Maybe you need to adjust big no-go. What is a big no-go as a team that we don't accept? Yellow card, and then red card if it happens again. Have hard conversations. Sometimes you can try all of that. And the last thing that would work is really, that happened once. Second time it happens, I'm sorry. The eject button will be pressed. But sometimes you have to have hard conversations. And I have the case already that all of that happened, and the person still continued showing some quite toxic behaviors. Now, the team went to leadership and said, it's us or that person. And then leadership is like, what? So they moved this person to another team. And I met this person some months later. And I asked, hey, how are you doing? And then I saw the person was with the same behavior a little bit. Like, yeah, they don't get me. They keep interrupting me, and they don't let me do my way, and it's blah, blah, blah. The same things. And then I'm like, why did they tell you that you moved? Oh, it's because my skills would be better utilized on the second team. Don't do that. Be honest. If you're moving somebody to another team, explain why. First, for just being honest, for the sake of being honest. Secondly, you are not destroying a second team. And thirdly, don't even know if it exists. Thirdly is good. Thirdly. And in third place, you are giving the person an option to improve. Because for that person, it's still like, yeah, my skills would be better utilized in another team. That's not transparent. All right. Number 10, fake agile. A new idea and request is raised. Now the team goes straight into the source to ask them the needs, the goals, their pains. Nobody in between. And now they start working on the highest priority event, really what matters the most first. And soon enough, they deliver the first value as fast as they can to get feedback directly from the source. Some of you might be thinking, oh, Artur, if that's fake agile, I don't know what we are doing back then, man. That's quite okay, agile. People are talking directly to the customers, no man or woman in the middle, and they're going for it. They try to work on prioritized work, and they deliver. So it's quite okay. So let's rewind a little bit. Are you ready for the real fake agile? Buckle up, put your seatbelts. This is going to go wild. A new idea request is raised, and then you have 6 gates, steering committees, and you have like a bunch of handovers, sign-offs, but then you have a small group of people working on that because it's more efficient. Developers must be developing, testers must be testing. Now, it's called business. Business is demand. And then there is an invisible wall, because now they throw over the invisible wall. There is an arrow there, even though you cannot see. And now they throw it and say it's IT. IT, supply, demand, supply. It's the same company, the same pocket, the same customer. It's still IT, demand and supply. Never get that. But anyway, now the product owner is going to go there and say, listen to the business and say, now, be agile and deliver every 2 weeks. What do you mean? And then they have all this pack of documents and requirements, and they go to the team, the PO try to explain to the team and make sure that they understand, and they start working on it, and after that, after months, they have to come back to the PO. What do you mean by that? I don't know. And they keep coming back and asking the PO, but what does it mean? I don't know. And more things are happening, and at some point, they finally finish, and they deliver something that is not what the customer needed. Now is the blame game. Are we going to lose our jobs? No, but that was the PO's fault. And the PO's is like, wait, what are you talking about? That was not me. That was actually the small group of people working in the corner who did that. And the small group of people working in the corner, they will do what? That's actually the customer. And at the end, we are pointing back to the customer. Hey, you change your mind, or you're not clear, or. And what do? Raise a change request. And another thing has to happen again. And we go over again and again. Raise your hand if you've ever experienced that in one way or the other. That's the last time you raise your hand, I promise. You can wipe your tears. One of the first things to consider to break the fake agile is? Oh, okay, I thought that you would be confused. It's actually true, find the root causes. Some people are like, nah, you tricked me last time, don't do it again, man. Try to understand, this is a systemic approach. Human systems, why this is happening. It's really because it's not clear. Is that only Agile being involved? HR is not being involved. What are the root causes why this is happening? Involve business, leadership, HR. They should be involved from the beginning. It's not just like you do your Scrum thing there and you hit the wall and that's the maximum you can go and we don't need to do that. Everybody should be involved. Translate into pocket pain. That's another thing I'm going to make probably famous at some point. Some people will only act if it's hurting their pocket. If you say people are quitting, okay, that's bad or sad. Oh, but people are unsatisfied. Yeah, we are delivering things that are not really what the customer needs. Okay. But if you say, we are losing 50,000 euros every month because of the way we are working, people are like, what? Say what? Cancel the meeting with Barack Obama, please. I just need to know about that. Sometimes you got to bring numbers. Some people will only understand if it's hurting the pocket. Value stream mapping, very powerful. From the beginning, from the need until it's delivered. What are the steps? Just ask them to visualize it, because most of the times it's just a slide that is fancy and it's in a circle. They don't feel the pain. This is a real one I've done. So many steps, right? That was only business. IT would pick it up here and try to deliver afterwards, and still many other steps. So visualize it, put the average time to get each task done, the average waiting time in between, and start getting some data from there. User story mapping. Extremely powerful. Bring developers, testers, analysts, customers, PO, bring them, put in the same room, and start having discussions about the next priorities. Why they should be in such a way. Sometimes they're gonna tell you it's too expensive. And I got that already. But the tester should be testing, no? I'm like, it's okay, we delivered, it's mine on the line, it's gonna be okay. Half an hour in, a shy tester from the back. Excuse me, if you do that in that and that way, we're gonna break the performance. Instead of microseconds, it's gonna be 10 seconds each form. And everybody's like, what? I'm working on that for 3 years, I can promise you. That feedback without this workshop will only come at the end, after all these months of refining and blah, 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 and then the tester would say, oh, you're breaking the performance. Roll back everything, fake Agile, and then you would come back and do everything again. User story mapping, you can put all the pieces of the puzzle up front and have these conversations already. Create successful cases. Just try to, maybe you try something with one team, you try these things plus the other ones, and from there, you start getting traction from leaders. Can you do also the same in my team? Can you also? That is what I've seen working best. Successful cases, creating appetite. The 10 vicious circles. I put them all in one page so you remember them all. You can take a picture, you can cry again, but they're all there. Once again, why do I even create this session? Because these vicious circles are happening again and again. And you might be involved in some of them and not even knowing. And you know what is worse? Some vicious circles are reinforcing each other. Because you're having technical debt, people are being triggered and having toxic behaviors. And because you have toxic behaviors, you are having high team turnover. And then you... Do you see how naughty they are? So make sure that you visualize, bring this to your team. Have discussions with your friends, with your colleagues, with your bosses. Prioritize and start breaking them up one by one. But as I said, I'm a nice guy. And I want you to enjoy a positive self-reinforcing loop. You came to a conference and you had a good time and you probably learned some stuff. You met great new people, and these great new people is probably going to recommend you to other endeavors and other conferences where you're going to do what? You're going to learn more and meet other great new people and have more great time. That's a positive one, so I want you to live with this one, and therefore, I thank you all for being here, and thank you, the conference, for organizing it, for having us, and see you. Probably some time for questions.
Yep. Do you have any? Oh.
I'm not sure about the slide with the feedback. I don't know if it's there or if I removed by mistake.
I actually want to talk about toxic behavior. Why should we keep rewarding people that are toxic? But we're helping them resolve their toxicity, and then we're rewarding them. But for example, we have somebody who's not toxic, who's doing the job, who's good at his job, and we're not giving him anything extra because he's already doing it. Why should we reward him extra?
I think the example you're giving sounds like the vicious circle that we want to break, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I think it's important to separate the behavior from the person and have clear agreements with the team that those type of behaviors is yellow card. Sometimes, let's talk about racism, sexism. This is red card right away. And it should be explicit and clear up front. So this type of behavior is not good. If it happens twice, red card. For these others, it's red card right away. And that should be clear. Otherwise, people do it, and then we don't say something. It's not very clear, and that's, some people left, but they are uneasy. They left just because maybe it's the boss, or, you know. You got to make explicit the things that are really not acceptable in the team. And now about rewarding or not, I think if you just stop or make sure that bad behaviors, the toxic behaviors are not happening, then the other people will just thrive and be happier in a way. I think we had the happiness blueprint there. But yeah, I don't think there is a need for rewarding. It's just cutting out the bad behaviors, the toxic ones. Yeah. I think should be focusing on that.
Yeah, because from personal experience, it's usually like the goal is, okay, let me be less toxic in some way. And like, that's his only goal, yearly goal, to be less toxic as a person.
It's aiming low, yeah. Well, then you can have run positive experiments. We had a whole session before from Anthony. Then you can go for more things that are positive. Even the NPS. How likely are you to recommend working in this team? You can use other tools to make sure that people are increasing the likeliness of people to either stay in the team or to attract new talents, because that's another pain in companies. And then if people are leaving, the great ones are leaving, and the great ones don't even want to come. So yeah, I hope that the goal is not let's be less shitty or let's have less toxic behaviors. Hopefully we can aim higher. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks to you, man.
Do I see more hands with questions?
We have there?
Yes.
Feedback is very welcome, so I really invite you to scan it and give feedback. That's very welcome.
First of all, thank you very much, Artur, for fantastic energy. So really enjoyed the presentation. About conflict resolution depth, what do you think is the most powerful tool to resolve all those unresolved conflicts?
The best answer depends.
All right.
But it's true. It depends on what is the context of your team. What do they need? How big is your team? What problem they have? So maybe you start with the impact feedback. You have the situation, the behavior, and how it impacted you. You start with some feedback. One thing I've done myself was asking for feedback as a Scrum Master. And I would invite random people from the team in small sessions of 15 minutes, and they would just shoot. And I would just get it all, and I would say thank you at the end. Things that I could do better, things that I'm doing well, until it started like a ripple effect. A leader said, can you facilitate that to me as well? I'm like, yes, of course I can, yeah. So then it started. There are many ways to start, but starting small. I don't know which one would be best for your team. That's why I said depends, but starting small.
Cool, thanks.
Thanks to you, thanks for the question.